The laptop. I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now and really think about this question. How much of your life is sitting on your laptop right now? Your bank account, your passwords, your photos, your home address, your entire identity just floating there, unprotected on a device that fits inside a backpack. I learned the hard way what happens when that device ends up in the wrong hands. A few months ago, I took my girlfriend Maya on a trip to Chicago. We'd been talking about it for over a year. Deep dish pizza, the Riverwalk, Navy Pier, the whole experience. We booked a boutique hotel in the River North neighborhood, one of those places that looks incredible on Instagram, but costs enough to remind you every single morning that you're on vacation. I work remotely, which is both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is obvious. I can work from anywhere. The curse is that anywhere includes vacations. My boss doesn't care that I'm standing in front of Lake Michigan. Deadlines are deadlines. So on our second morning there, while Maya was still asleep, I slipped downstairs to the hotel lobby. There was a lounge area near the front. Leather chairs, low lighting, complimentary coffee, and most importantly, fast Wi-Fi. I set up my laptop, got into my workflow, and things were actually going well. That's when Maya called. She was up, she was hungry, and she had a full itinerary plan that she was not going to let me ignore. I laughed and told her I'd be upstairs in a few minutes. I stood up, stretched, walked about 15 feet to the coffee station near the entrance of the lounge, poured myself a cup, and turned around. My laptop was gone. I'm talking about a span of maybe 45 seconds, a minute at absolute most. I hadn't gone upstairs. I hadn't left the floor. I had walked across the same room to pour a cup of coffee, and in that sliver of time, someone walked into that lounge and took my computer off the table. I went straight to the front desk. The woman working the counter was polite, soft-spoken, and completely unhelpful, not because she didn't care, but because there was genuinely nothing she could do. I asked if she'd seen anyone leave the lounge carrying a laptop bag. She hadn't. I asked her to pull the security footage. She explained that the lounge area didn't have cameras, only the exits and elevators, and that even those feeds were controlled by the property manager who wasn't on site until the following morning. She handed me a lost or stolen property form and offered her sincerest apologies. I filled out the form. I didn't feel sincere about anything. I went back upstairs and told Maya what happened. She did what she always does when I'm spiraling. She stayed calm and rational. She reminded me that we were in Chicago for 3 more days, that we'd saved up for this trip, and that sitting in a hotel room stewing over something we couldn't control wasn't going to bring the laptop back. She was right. It didn't make me feel better, but she was right. We turned off notifications on our phones, something we always do on vacation to stay present. And we went out. We walked the Riverwalk. We ate at a place near Millennium Park. We did a little bar hopping in Wicker Park and didn't get back to the hotel until almost midnight. I didn't check my phone seriously until we were back in the room. That's when everything changed. I opened my email and immediately noticed something wrong. Every single email I'd received that day, from my boss, from 2 family members, from my bank, had already been opened. Not by me. The panic hit fast. I'm not someone who keeps a clean digital life. I'm not someone who logs out of things or clears saved passwords. My laptop had been signed into everything. My email, my cloud storage, my banking app, my personal photo library going back 6 years. My password manager, which, yes, I know, is catastrophically stupid to leave accessible, had my home address, my social security number, credit card numbers, everything. I had handed a stranger my entire existence on a silver platter, and walked away to get coffee. I immediately started changing passwords, email first, then banking, then everything else I could think of. I was moving fast, hands shaking slightly. When I switched over to my text messages, there was a message from a number I didn't recognize. Then there were photos, my photos, specific ones, personal, private, the kind you never imagine a stranger seeing. Photos from my cloud backup that I hadn't looked at in years. And then, mixed in with them, photos I absolutely did not take. A photo of a hotel hallway, a photo of a door, our hotel room door with the number clearly visible, and a photo of me, taken from outside the hotel through the glass doors at the entrance, standing at the front desk, talking to the woman who had handed me that useless lost property form. He had followed me, photographed me, and then gone back to his room, or wherever he was, and sent me proof. The message below the photos read, "I have everything. Your address, your hotel room number, the rest of your information. This number is untraceable. Don't contact the police. Send $1,200 in Bitcoin to the following address, or else. Or else." I sat on the edge of the bed and read that message 4 times. I showed Maya. She went from calm to terrified in about 3 seconds, and watching her panic made mine spike even higher. I stepped out of the room to use the bathroom down the hall, partly to think, partly to get away from the energy in that room before it swallowed me whole. Here's the thing about extortion. Even if you pay, you have no leverage. There is nothing stopping this person from keeping the photos, keeping my information, keeping my address, and coming back for more next month. Paying $1,200 in Bitcoin wasn't a solution. It was an invitation. I decided I wasn't going to pay. I went back to the room and told Maya. She agreed, though I could tell neither of us felt good about it. We lay in bed, neither of us anywhere near sleep, just talking quietly through worst-case scenarios, when it happened. A knock at the window. Our room was on the 2nd floor. Maya screamed, just a short, sharp sound she immediately covered with her hand. I killed the lamp so the room went dark. I pulled the shade completely shut. We both went still. Then my phone lit up. A new text from the same number. "I'm looking into your room right now. I am not playing games." Another knock. Slower this time, deliberate. I don't know what came over me. Some combination of rage and adrenaline and the basic human refusal to be made powerless in a hotel room I was paying for. I walked to the window and pulled the shade open. There was someone standing on the other side of the glass. I couldn't make out a face, just a figure, still watching. Maya screamed again. I yanked the shade back shut. We were packed and at the front desk in under 4 minutes. I told the night attendant everything. The theft, the messages, the photos, the figure at the window. Her expression shifted from polite to genuinely alarmed. She called security, radioed for someone to check the perimeter, and gave us a room card for a 3rd-floor room on the opposite side of the building. I didn't sleep. Not 1 minute. I sat in the chair by the door until the sun came up. The manager arrived at 8 in the morning. I was waiting for her. She reviewed the footage personally and found exactly what I expected. A man in a dark hoodie and a baseball cap pulled low over his face entered the lounge the moment I stepped away from my table. He was at my laptop for less than 30 seconds. Then he was gone. She forwarded everything to the Chicago PD and gave me the case number. We checked out that morning. I blocked the number. I canceled every credit card I had. I changed every password again from a new device. I filed a police report. I did everything you're supposed to do. And then, 3 weeks after I got home, I walked out to my mailbox and found an envelope. No return address. My name and home address written by hand on the front. Inside was a single index card. It said, "I hope you haven't forgotten. I still have everything. I haven't slept the same way since." The phone. Let me tell you about my friend Jordan. Jordan is one of those people who treats her phone like an extension of herself. Always in her hand, always charged, always connected. Which is exactly why it was so jarring when she showed up at my door one evening, rattled and empty-handed, using her older sister's phone to contact me. She'd lost her phone somewhere between leaving work and getting home. She wasn't even sure where. Maybe the subway, maybe the coffee shop she stopped at. Maybe it slipped out of her bag while she was rushing. What she did know was that by the time she got to her sister's place and borrowed her phone to check her messages through the browser, someone was already in her phone, reading her texts, and not responding. The first thing I asked her was whether she had a passcode set up. She didn't. I didn't yell at her. I wanted to, but I didn't. I asked about tracking features. She'd never set them up. She had a brand new phone and had just never gotten around to configuring any of it, which, in retrospect, is a little like buying a house and never locking the front door. I drove over to meet her. I texted her number from my phone. "Hi, this is Jordan's friend. She lost her phone. Please return it. She'll compensate you for your trouble." The message showed as read within seconds. No response. I waited 60 seconds and sent another one. "We can see that you're reading these messages. If you return the phone, no questions asked. If you don't, we're going to remotely lock it, track it, and report it to law enforcement as part of a theft investigation. It will become worthless to you. This is your only warning." The response came back in under 10 seconds. "Good luck." Then the phone went offline. Whoever had it powered it down. There was nothing else we could do on the phone side of things. No tracking, no locking, no remote wipe. Jordan didn't have any of it set up, and without the phone being on, there was no signal to find. We went to get dinner. One of those, "we need to do something normal because everything feels wrong" dinners, and tried to talk through what the next steps were going to be. When we got back to Jordan's house, I noticed immediately that something was off. The garage door was up. There was a light on in an upstairs window. Jordan's parents were on a cruise. They weren't supposed to be back until Thursday. It was Tuesday night. "Are your parents home?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She shook her head slowly. We went in through the garage. Jordan hit the button to close it behind us. We walked through the mudroom into the den, and Jordan called out for her parents anyway, just in case, just hoping, and got nothing back. Then one of the doors upstairs clicked shut. Not slammed, not kicked. Clicked. The quiet, deliberate close of someone who doesn't want to be heard. Jordan grabbed my arm. I could feel her grip tightening. "Stay here," I said. I went upstairs. I want to be honest about what I was feeling as I climbed those stairs, because it wasn't bravery. It was the specific kind of dread that settles in your chest when you know something is wrong, but you have to keep moving anyway. I got to the top of the stairs and walked down the hallway to the door that had just closed. I looked back down at Jordan once. Then I opened it. The room was dark. I reached along the wall for a light switch and couldn't find it. "Hey," I called down to Jordan, "where's the light switch in here?" She screamed. Not a little gasp. A scream. Because she had just remembered something. Her home address was saved in her contacts. The code to the garage was saved in her notes app. Her phone had been stolen. And now someone was in her house. In that same moment, a hand shot out from inside the dark room and grabbed my arm. Hard. fingers wrapped around my wrist and pulled, trying to drag me inside. I screamed. I'm not too proud to admit that. And I wrenched my arm back. I grabbed the door with my free hand and slammed it again and again against the arm that was still reaching through the gap until I heard a grunt from the other side and felt the grip release. I flew down the stairs. "Run," I said to Jordan, and she didn't hesitate. We got out through the front door and I called 911 the moment we hit the front porch. We sat in my car at the curb, both of us shaking, watching the house. About a minute after we got outside, the light in the upstairs room came on, and then a figure walked slowly to the window and stood there. Just stood there, looking out. We couldn't see a face. I took as many photos as I could through my windshield. Then the light went off. The police arrived within minutes. 2 cruisers, lights on, no sirens. I showed them the photos before they went in. They cleared the house room by room. They were in there for almost 20 minutes. When they came back out, they told us it was clear. Whoever had been inside was gone, likely out the same way they came in, through a rear window they'd forced open. We asked about tracking the phone. Surely now, with a home invasion on record, there was something they could do. The officer who took our statement shook his head. Without the tracking feature enabled and without the phone being powered on, there was no way to locate it. The best they could do was log it in the system and flag the serial number. They told us to change the garage code, reinforce the rear window, and call again if anything else happened. Jordan stayed at my place that night. When her parents got back on Thursday, she told them everything. She had a new phone by Friday, fully set up with tracking enabled and a complex passcode. She bought a small security camera for the garage. She changed every code, every password, every lock she could think of. We never found the phone. We never identified who had been in her house. But for weeks after, Jordan told me she couldn't walk through her own front door without that feeling. The one where your house doesn't feel like yours anymore. I know that feeling. A lot of people who've had this happen to them know that feeling. And that's what they don't tell you when someone steals your device. It's not just about the hardware. It's about the moment you realized your private world, your home, your photos, your routines, has been handed to a stranger who is under absolutely no obligation to leave you alone. The return march of last year, a Friday night in Nashville, 6 of us, me, my roommate Tyler, our friends Marcus, Derek, Priya, and her boyfriend Cole, decided to do a low-key night out. Nothing complicated. Dinner at a steakhouse downtown, then a dive bar 2 blocks away. The kind of bar with a jukebox and a dartboard and neon signs that have been hanging in the windows since the 90s. We got a table, ordered some drinks, played 3 rounds of darts, and called it a night sometime around 11. It wasn't until we stepped out onto the sidewalk that I noticed my pockets felt wrong. Both of them. I did the panic pat-down, front left, front right, back left, back right, and came up empty every time. My phone was gone. I told the group to wait and ran back inside. I checked the bar stools we'd been sitting on. I checked the floor around the dartboard. I checked the shelf where I'd set my jacket down. I asked the bartender, a big guy named Hank, going by his name tag, and he hadn't seen it. Tyler came in behind me and suggested calling my number, then immediately realized that was pointless given the noise level. We both asked Hank to call us if anything turned up. We walked back to the steakhouse. I talked to the host, checked the table we'd been at, asked if anyone had turned in a phone. Nothing. At that point, I had to accept the likelihood someone at one of those 2 places had picked it up. Deliberately or not, it was gone. I was annoyed, but not catastrophizing yet. These things happen. Someone would turn it in or they wouldn't, and I'd deal with it in the morning. I got home, washed up and started winding down for bed. Then, for reasons I genuinely cannot explain, it occurred to me to find my iPhone. I hadn't even thought about it until that moment. I opened my laptop, signed into my account, and pulled up the map. My phone was showing up directly above my house. I froze. My first instinct was relief. Maybe it had been in my jacket the whole time and I'd missed it. I checked every pocket again. Nothing. I went downstairs and checked the table by the front door, my coat hooks, the kitchen counter. Nothing. I even went outside and checked the stoop and the mailbox in case someone had dropped it off while I was out. Nothing. But the map still showed it right there, at my address, pulsing like a beacon. I figured I'd misread something, that maybe the GPS was just lagging, that in the morning it would have updated and show me where it actually was. I was exhausted. I did one last walkthrough of the house, turning off lights in the kitchen, checking the back door lock, that kind of thing, and headed upstairs. That's when I heard it. A sound from downstairs, metallic, like something bumping against the pan rack that hangs over the kitchen island. A sound that has a very specific quality when you hear it at midnight in a house where you live alone. I stopped moving. I stood at the top of the stairs and listened. Then I saw it, a thin sliver of light leaking out from beneath the door to my sunroom. The sunroom is an addition on the back of the house, separated from the kitchen by a glass door. It has big windows on 3 sides, and no overhead light, just a lamp in the corner. That lamp was on, and then it wasn't. Someone had turned it off. I am not a small person. I'm not someone who scares easily, but standing in my own kitchen at midnight, looking through a glass door into a dark room where a light had just been switched off, I felt something I don't have a better word for than primal. Every hair on my arm stood up. I didn't move. I stared into the darkness of that sunroom trying to make sense of what I was seeing. And then I made out the shapes, 2 of them, standing near the far wall, facing away from me, arms slightly out from their bodies. Still. Completely still. Like they'd been standing there for a while and had no intention of moving. I backed away from the glass door, slowly, silently, until I reached the kitchen phone on the counter. I picked it up and called 911. The operator was calm and focused. She told me the police were on their way, that they would approach the house quietly, identify the point of entry, and attempt to detain the intruders. She told me not to engage. She told me to go to an interior closet on the upper floor. Stay there, stay quiet, and wait until I heard police downstairs. I went upstairs. I went into the closet in my bedroom. I pulled a blanket over myself in the corner, made myself as small as possible, and waited. I have never experienced a silence like that. The tension of waiting in a dark closet, completely still, straining to hear any sound from the house, is a specific kind of fear that doesn't go away when it's over. You carry it with you. You hear it again every time a house settles or a pipe knocks or wind moves through a screen. Then I heard footsteps, heavy, unhurried, coming up the stairs. They moved down the hall. I heard doors opening one by one, the bathroom, the guest room, the linen closet. Then my bedroom door opened. I pulled the blanket tighter and tried to stop breathing. The closet door opened. I don't know how I didn't make a sound. I genuinely do not know. The door stayed open for what felt like several seconds, then pulled shut again. The footsteps moved back out of the room, down the hall, down the stairs. I stayed in that closet for another 3 or 4 minutes, motionless, until I heard voices downstairs, authoritative, official voices. And one of them called out, "Nashville PD, we're coming up." I came out of the closet and went downstairs. 4 officers were in my house. They had entered through the sunroom, the same glass door I'd been staring through, where the intruders had forced a window panel. The intruders themselves were gone. One of the officers told me this was typical. By the time police arrive, most burglars are already out. They took a detailed report, logged my phone as stolen property connected to the case, and told me there would be a patrol car circling the block overnight. In the morning, I found my phone sitting on the kitchen counter. They'd left it there. Whether that was a message, an act of indifference, or simply a choice to cut their losses and avoid being tracked any further, I still don't know. Tyler and Marcus, when I told them the story, immediately made the joke that the intruders had just been trying to return my lost phone, and I should track them down and say, "Thank you." I laughed. It was either that or not sleep for a week. It's been several months now. Nothing else has happened, but I still sleep with the light on sometimes. I still hear that metallic sound from the kitchen in my dreams. What they don't tell you, I've been sitting on these 3 stories for a while, trying to figure out what to do with them. Not because they're embarrassing, although they are, a little, but because I kept hoping that time would make them feel less urgent. Less like warnings and more like anecdotes. That hasn't happened. If anything, the opposite has happened. I think about them more now than I did when they were fresh, because the more distance I get from these experiences, the clearer the pattern becomes. And the pattern is this. Every single one of these situations started with something small. A cup of coffee, a dinner out, a night at a dive bar, one unguarded moment, one device left in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the person who found it didn't use it to call a cab or listen to music. They used it as a key. That's what I want you to really sit with for a minute. When you leave your phone or your laptop somewhere unattended, you're not just leaving a piece of hardware. You're leaving a map. You're leaving a map of your home, your finances, your relationships, your daily patterns, your private moments. You're leaving every password you've ever saved, every location you've ever checked in at, every document you've ever opened. You are leaving yourself. And there are people, more of them than you'd like to believe, who are very good at picking that up and knowing exactly what to do with it. Let me be specific about what happened to me in Chicago because I want you to feel the scope of it. In the 45 seconds I was away from my laptop, the person who took it gained access to my primary email account, fully signed in with 6 years of correspondence, receipts, and personal communication. My online banking portal, saved and remembered by the browser. My cloud photo storage, thousands of images going back to college. My password manager, unlocked and accessible, containing login credentials for over 60 accounts. A note in my files with my home address, my social security number, and my emergency contacts. He didn't need to be a hacker. He didn't need to write a single line of code. He just needed 45 seconds and a table where someone had left a laptop. And then he needed a camera and a burner phone and the willingness to knock on a hotel window at midnight. Here's what I wish someone had told me before any of this happened. Lock your screen. Always. Every time. Even if you're stepping away for 30 seconds. The auto lock should be set to 1 minute or less. This alone would have made my laptop useless to him the moment he walked out of that lounge. Use a tracking feature and learn how to use it. Not just turning it on, actually opening the app, understanding how it works, knowing how to trigger a remote lock or wipe from another device. Jordan's situation could have ended very differently if she'd had that set up. She might have been able to lock the phone before he ever got her home address. She might have been able to trigger a wipe. Instead, she gave him a key and a map and a timeline of when the house would be empty. Don't save your home address in your phone's notes or contacts under your own name. This sounds almost absurdly basic, but almost nobody does it. If your phone has to store your address at all, label it something neutral. Same with garage codes, alarm codes, anything that tells a stranger how to get into your physical space. Don't keep passwords in a document on your desktop. And I can't believe I have to say this, but I had a file on my laptop called passwords.docx. I know. Delete it. Use a proper password manager with two-factor authentication and log out of it when you're done. Two-factor authentication on everything. Bank account, email, cloud storage, all of it. Even if someone has your password, they can't get in without the second factor. This would have stopped the email access cold. Don't leave devices unattended in public. This feels obvious until you're tired and you just need a cup of coffee, and you figure 30 seconds is fine. It isn't. Take the device with you, every time. Now I want to come back to the letter I got in the mail, because that letter changed something for me. Not dramatically. I didn't stop sleeping. I didn't move. I didn't go into some kind of paranoid spiral. But it shifted something. Because up until that letter, I had been able to file the Chicago incident under bad experience, resolved, moving on. I'd canceled the cards, changed the passwords, filed the police report, done the things. The letter reminded me that resolution is a story we tell ourselves to feel safe. The reality is that somewhere out there, a stranger has photographs of me that I would never want anyone to see. He has my home address. He has my name. He knows in some small but real way how I live. And I have no way of knowing what he's going to do with that. What I do know is that the window between that being true and not true was approximately 45 seconds and 1 cup of coffee. That's it. That's the entire margin. The same is true for Jordan. She lost her phone on a Tuesday. By Tuesday night, someone was inside her house in a dark room waiting. The same is true for me in Nashville. I went out for dinner with friends on a Friday. By Friday night, 2 strangers were standing in my sunroom in the dark, having apparently used my own phone to figure out where I lived. These are not isolated incidents. These are not things that happen to careless people or unlucky people. These are things that happen to normal people on normal nights when one thing goes wrong at the wrong moment. I'm sharing them because I genuinely believe that if even one person who watches this video sets up their phone tracking before they put their device down tonight, it was worth it. If one person changes their screen lock timer, if one person deletes the note in their phone that has their garage code written in it, if one person starts logging out of their banking app instead of just closing the tab, that's the whole point. Stay careful out there. Lock your screens. Enable your tracking. And for the love of everything, do not leave your laptop unattended for a cup of coffee. I'm going to update if anything changes with the Chicago situation. The case is technically still open. I don't think anything will come of it. But I'll tell you if something does. And if you've had something like this happen to you, if you've lost a device or had someone use that device to get into your home or your life, leave it in the comments. I want to hear it. I think we all need to hear it, because the more we talk about this, the harder it gets for the people doing it.